A lot of you have been asking what my settings are in Apex Legends, and today I'm going to answer that question. Or if you just googled good settings for Apex Legends, then don't worry, you're in the right place, and allow me to introduce myself. My name's Tobin, I'm a seasoned Rev main of 3 years, and I make funny videos on the internet. Here are my Revenant credentials, and here are my lifetime credentials. Now before we get started, let me preface this video by saying I think everybody should have their settings the way they like them, and not just do it the way a YouTuber has them. And these are just my settings, and I recommend that you set them up the way that you see fit. Let's get right into it. Let's start in the gameplay tab with some very easy things that you should definitely change. Firstly, with button hints, if you're new to the game, then it might be a smart idea to have them on. If you're not new to the game, I would definitely turn them off, as all they do is get in the way. Prompt style I'd set to compact. You don't need all the data that default gives you, and compact is just much easier to look at. In general, I have crosshair damage feedback turned off. Here's what it looks like when it's off, and here's what it looks like while it's on. As you can see, there's a lot more distractions on screen, so I like to just keep it off. In my opinion, damage number should always be on stacking, that way you can tell your team the exact amount of damage you did, or at least the approximate. Or you just get a giant mess of numbers. Enemy health bar and enemy highlights should always be turned on, as if you have them turned off, then it's just bad for you. It shouldn't really matter, but obituaries I keep on. Ping opacity should always be set to faded. Here's one that I really like. Minimap rotation, in my opinion, should be on, but if you like it off, then that's fine. I like the fact that with minimap rotation, you can easily see where everything is on the map, but there's not much else to it. A lot of people say that weapon, auto cycle, and empty should be turned off, but I feel like that's mostly just for the Giga Sweats. Auto run and always sprint should be turned on, and for incoming damage feedback, 2D and 3D is the best, as you can much more easily tell where everyone is. Personally, health and ammo pop-ups and voice lines annoy the shit out of me, so I have them turned off. Here's a big one that kind of looks small, but arsenals, map, and HUD icons should be always turned on to maximum, because sometimes it'll just turn off the icon on your minimap, which is not great. These two don't matter for most people, this doesn't matter for most people, and then the rest of these in general don't matter. Some people like colorblind mode because it makes people easier to see using the enemy highlights feature, but again, I think that's a little too sweaty for me. Now here's where my settings diverge a ton from other people's settings. I don't really want to go into my button mapping because a lot of people find it useless and terrible. I use a DualSense Edge controller with back paddles, and I feel like these buttons are always the best, and I feel like these buttons always do the most for me. But again, I don't recommend them to the average person. Basically, what trigger dead zones does is it makes a small gap between when you start pulling down in your trigger and the gun actually fires, and that's honestly just going to make you lose more than win. Survival slot button should probably be turned off. I just like my inspect spamming. If aim button's not on hold, you're crazy, and a lot of the movement gurus will tell you that you should have your crouch button on hold, but I don't really care. I can do my movement just fine either way. I recommend 4:3 sensitivity as it seems to maximize your aim assist. This is kind of important. I like to have my per optic setting set to this, and I highly recommend that you do the same. I like to have linear response curve on my controller with a small look dead zone. These two are of course obvious, and vibration's another one that should be turned off. This one comes stock turned on, so you need to make sure that this one's off. Basically, when you're shooting or being shot at, your controller will vibrate, and I find that really hurts your aim. ALCs should be turned off in my opinion, except for per optic settings, which you should leave on. Set everything to 1.1, except for 10 times, which should be 2.4. These will stay on even if you turn off ALCs, and in my opinion, they really help your aim out. For my console bros, you can skip to this timestamp on screen, because we're going to be talking about PC graphics. Firstly, I want to preface this by saying I've got a very strong computer, and I can't recommend this to most people. That being said, here are my settings. I get 144 frames, which is the max for my monitor, but there's not much I can add to the conversation other than explaining what each thing does. VSync removes all vertical and horizontal tearing, but it locks your FPS at 60. This is nothing. Make sure you turn on anti-aliasing. Texture streaming budget is the amount of VRAM that your graphics card is allowed to use to load textures, while texture filtering controls the amount of sharpness on surface details. This one doesn't change too much. For example, sunlight coming through a tree. I recommend having this one set to high as it makes your game look a lot nicer. Well, with this setting you control it a little better. This seems a little silly to have on, but basically what it does is it controls how sunlight is reflected in air. Who cares about this? And this changes how detailed objects and legends are. Welcome back, console boys. Now we're in the audio section. Sound effects volume, I like to have it at 80% just because I find it a little bit loud. Dialogue I've got set to 55 so I don't have to hear a Revenant wishing bloody death, while music's 55% so I can hear people over the game. Emote preview sound. Always have this set to off. This is also for my PC boys. Basically, if you have your tab minimized, it'll still play audio. Most of the time when I'm playing the game, I'm a PS5 boy, so I don't really care about this setting, but I have it on anyway. Anyway, this video might not be as funny or entertaining as the videos that I usually make. Sorry about that, I just wanted to make a settings video, and I really hope it helps some people. If you're new to the channel, I highly recommend liking and subscribing. I make entertaining videos for lots of games, but primarily Apex Legends, and it helps out me quite a bit. And for one more self-promo, if you made it this far in the video, please put a blue heart in the comment section so I know you made it, and have a good day.